everyone. Thank you very much for signing in and watching my live stream. I'm Mr. Matt, and this is Dr. Tot. Dr. Tot, do you want a cookie? Hey, you sleeping? You want a cookie, though? Okay, very good. Welcome to SAT, ACT Prep. Today, I am very sorry for not being able to stream yesterday. We had some connection issues with the iPad, so I'm going to stream today's lesson for the miscellaneous math set today, so then we're all set to complete the set. We're all set to complete the set tomorrow on Friday. I just also want to let you know that my idea for these live streams are to give everyone an opportunity that if you have any questions or recommendations, feel free to always contact me on my social media accounts and have any recommendations for streams, or if you have any questions that you are doing some problems and you've run into some difficulties. If you have any recommendations, I'm always open to preempt one of my lessons and answer some questions that individual students have. So feel free, just want to let everybody know that is available to you. I'm going to go through the full curriculum in the pre-recorded sessions, but if there's ever anything that is really pressing, or if you'd like some more explanation about a particular subject, then just let me know. But otherwise, let me share my screen with you and let's go through some practice drills. A reminder, as always, because these are live streams, there's a little bit of a delay with the iPad, but I'll mitigate that as much as possible. Otherwise, let's get right into it. So I'm going to give you 6 minutes to solve the problem. 6 minutes for both of the two problems, and then 2 minutes into that allotment, I'll start to solve. Usually that mitigates all the delay or anything with the iPad. Let me make sure that the screen is going for you. Okay, so number 1 asks, Sally issues a coupon to her customers for a 20% discount on a new rug that costs her $120 to purchase. If Sally wants to make a profit of 10% on her cost, what price should she charge for the rug? Number 2 asks, if a wheel has a radius of 2 feet, which of the following is closest to the number of miles it would travel after 2,000 revolutions? And note that 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. So take 6 minutes. I'll keep track of the time in the upper right-hand corner. I'll do it over here. And I'll update it per minute. And after 2 minutes, I'll start to solve if you need some hints. Okay, so for number one, we really have three different prices that we have to concern ourselves with. So if we have and the difficult part is that they give it to us, give the information to us in kind of a complicated reverse order. So we have three prices. We have the price that Sally has to pay to get the rug, or the money she has to put out to get the rug. Then we have the amount that she has to actually receive in her hands after the discount is applied. That's the amount that she's going to earn, her revenue. That intermediate price, which is in between the cost and the sticker price, the price that she actually places on the item, which is going to be discounted to a price that is going to give her 10% extra on her cost. So if her cost is $120, we then need to figure out what amount of money would make her intended profit goal, which is 10%. So if we increase 20% by 10%. So remember that when we take a percent, that's different than increasing or decreasing by a percentage. If we want to increase by 10%, these are statistical values that already take into consideration the amount of stuff or the amount of whole value that you already have. So when we have $120 worth of cost, we already have 100% of $120 of cost. You're not starting at a reference point of 0 like you normally are used to on a number line. So with percentages, you have to get used to starting from a place of 100% of whatever you have. Therefore, to increase what you have by 10%, you're not multiplying by the decimal equivalent of 10%, which is 0.1. You have to multiply by 1 plus or minus the intended change. So if you want to increase by 10%, you need to multiply by 1 plus 0.1, or in other words, 1.1. So 1 plus 10% is 1.1. 1.1 times 120 is $132. So $132 is the exact amount of money that Sally needs to receive at the end of the transaction in order to make her goal of a 10% profit. The question is that this customer has a coupon for 20% off. So some sticker price discounted by 20% or decreased by 20% must equal $132. So from that standpoint, we can write an equation in order to solve for the sticker price by letting the sticker price be the unknown variable, let's say x. I used x there. So we can say that x decreased by 20% or multiplied by 1 minus 20% is 132. So x times 1 minus 0.2 is equal to 132. So x times 1 minus 0.2, that's the same thing as x times 0.8. So we'd have, 0.8x is equal to 132. And so x is going to be equal to 132 divided by 0.8. And 132 divided by 0.8 is going to be 165, which is answer selection B. Now for number 2, you can solve number 2 using some dimensional analysis. So if you've taken chemistry, you might have seen this before. If not, then that's completely fine, don't worry. What you want to do is start with the given value. So here, obviously, but you want to start with the value that you can represent as a finite number is what I'm really getting at. And here, it's the 2,000 revolutions. So 2,000 revolutions, the distance ultimately that takes you is dependent on a certain number of factors, right? The size of the wheel, and then also a conversion rate to go from the different units that were given, which is feet, to the units that were asked about, which is miles. But 2,000 revolutions is the finite value that we're asked to examine. So we could represent that always. You can represent anything as a fraction by just putting it over 1. And now what we're going to do is multiply by some equivalent of 1. Now these equivalencies are not concrete, they're more conceptual, and they're based on the context of the question, and they're going to change from question to question. So for example, here they tell us that the wheel has a radius of 2 feet. So every time the wheel goes around, it turns, it makes 1 revolution. We need to calculate the circumference of that wheel because that represents the distance around the exterior of the circle. It would be a mistake to calculate the area because that represents the space inside of the circle, the 2-dimensional space inside of the circle. We're really interested in the 1-dimensional distance around it because that's how far it's going to take whatever is traveling on the wheel after 1 revolution. So if we know that the radius of the wheel is 2 feet and the circumference of every single circle is 2 pi r, substituting 2 in for r, we're going to have 2 times 2 times pi, which is 4 pi. So the circumference of this wheel is 4 pi feet. So for every 1 revolution, the wheel will go 4 pi feet. So that's my equivalency there, because 1 revolution of this particular wheel is equal to 4 pi feet. And because those are conceptually equal in this context, something divided by itself is 1. 1 times anything is that same something. So you're not conceptually, given the context of this problem, changing the value. You're just manipulating the units here. So if you're going 2,000 revolutions, and in this particular, of a wheel, in this particular wheel, it has a circumference of 4 pi units, then we can multiply by 4 pi feet per, meaning divided by, per in math means divided by, every 1 revolution. Notice how I specifically placed revolution in the 1 revolution in the denominator, so it will purposely cancel with revolution, the unit of revolution in the numerator. Then, if I just multiplied through at that point, my answer would be in terms of feet. But notice that that is along the way of where I want to go, because ultimately they're asking me for a distance. Then I just need to multiply by some conversion that's going to turn feet into miles. 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. So if I have feet, the unit of feet in the numerator, I want the unit of feet in the denominator to cancel out. So I'm multiplying by 1 mile over 5,280 feet. When I do that, revolution cancels with revolution, feet cancels with feet, and I'm left with an answer in terms of miles, which is exactly what they asked me for. So if I do this multiplication, 2,000 times 4 times pi, which is about 3.14, divided by 5,280, is 4.75, or thereabout. I'm going to round up actually, 4.76, which is closest to the answer selection of 5 miles. So the answer to number 2 is D. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Otherwise, let's take a look at 3 and 4. Question number 3 asks, Sally issues a coupon to her customers for a 20% discount on a new rug that costs her $90 to purchase. If Sally wants to make a profit of 30%, what price should she charge for the rug? Question number 4 asks, if a wheel has a radius of 3 feet, which of the following is closest to the number of miles it would travel after 3,000 revolutions? So I'll give you 6 minutes and keep track of the time in the upper right-hand corner. After 2 minutes, I'll start to solve. Okay, so for number 3, we have a cost of $90, we have a profit objective of 30%, and the customer gets a 20% discount in between the sticker price and the amount of money that Sally gets in her hand at the end of the transaction. So if the cost is $90 and the amount that she ultimately wants to receive is 30% more than $90, we could take 90 and multiply it by 1 plus 0.3, or 90 times 1.3, which would be $117. So $117 represents 30% more than 90. And that's the amount of money that she needs to receive in order to make her goal. So some number decreased by a 20% coupon must equal 117. You can write that straight into an equation by identifying the equating word or phrase. Usually the equating word or phrase is the word is, but it could be many things. It could be is equals to, is the same as, the word equals. All of those things connote the equal sign. So some number decreased by 20%. X times 1 minus 0.2. Some number decreased by 20% is 117. So x times 1 minus 0.2 is equal to 117. 1 minus 0.2 is 0.8. So we're going to have 0.8x is equal to 117. Dividing by 0.8 on both sides, we're going to find that x has to be equal to $146.25. So if she lists this rug to be sold at a price of $146.25, then once the customer redeems his or her coupon at the register, that price will drop to $117. That price of $117 will make Sally her 30% profit objective on her cost of $90. For number 4, if we start with the 3,000 revolutions that we're talking about, and it's not given to us in fractional form, so we just want to write it as a fraction by putting it over 1. So if we multiply 3,000 revolutions by the number of feet per revolution, then the units of revolution will cancel and we'll have an answer in terms of a distance, which is along the lines of what they're asking for. That's just not the right units yet. If we take that answer and convert it into miles by multiplying by the conversion factor of 1 mile over 5,280 feet, then we'll have our answer in terms of miles. So 3,000 revolutions times 6 pi feet. So if the radius of the wheel is 3, then the circumference is 2 pi times 3, which would be 6 pi. So 3,000 revolutions times 6 pi feet over 1 revolution, or per 1 revolution. The revolutions will cancel out, and then we have our answer in terms of feet, which we don't want. We want our answer in terms of miles. So we multiply by 1 mile over 5,280 feet. Feet cancels with feet, leaving us with an answer in terms of miles. And that's going to be 3,000 times 6 pi, quantity divided by 5,280. And that's going to give you about 10.7, which is closest to 11 miles. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Otherwise, let's look at 5 and 6. 5 asks, Sally issues a coupon to her customers for a 40% discount on a new rug that costs her $180 to purchase. If Sally wants to make a profit of 12%, what price should she charge for the rug? And number 6, if a wheel has a radius of 3.4 feet, which of the following is closest to the number of miles it would travel after 6,000 revolutions? I'll give you 6 minutes. After 2 minutes, I'll start to solve. Okay, I don't know why my alarm is so quiet all of a sudden. I did get a new phone, so all my settings are different. So I do apologize for that inconsistency. But time is up. Let's look at number 5. So the original cost is 180. She wants to receive as a profit objective 12% more than her cost. So 180 increased by 12% would be 180 times 1 plus 0.12, which is the same thing as 180 times 1.12, which is going to give us $201.60. So only exactly $201.60 will give us 12% profit on our cost. So we're going to calculate some number, the sticker price, that we're going to use as the variable x. Some number decreased by the coupon amount of 40% off. Some number decreased by 40% must equal $201.60. 1 minus 0.4, excuse me, 1 minus 0.4 is 0.6. So we're going to have 0.6x is equal to $201.60. So x is equal to 201.6 divided by 0.6, which is going to give us $336. So if the rug is listed as $336, then the 40% coupon would bring the price down to $201.60, and then that would give Sally a 12% profit on her cost of $180. For 6, if we have 6,000 revolutions as our given finite value, then if we use the equation for the circumference of a circle, knowing that the radius is 3.4 feet, then the circumference has to be 6.8 pi feet. So for every 1 revolution, the wheel will go 6.8 pi feet. So 6,000 revolutions times 6.85 feet, pi feet, divided by 1 revolution. The revolutions cancel. And so now our answer would be in terms of feet, but that's not what we want. They ask us for an answer in terms of miles. So we need to multiply one more time by a conversion factor of 1 mile divided by 5,280 feet. Feet will cancel with feet, leaving us with an answer in terms of miles, which is what we want. So if we just crunch the numbers of 6,000 times 6.8 times pi, which is about 3.14, and divide that result by 5,280, you will get 24.26, which, given the answer selections, is closest to answer selection B, which is 25 miles. If you have any questions, then please let me know. If not, otherwise let's look at 7 and 8. So question 7 asks, Molly can read 4 pages per minute. If she reads 4 hours per week, how many pages can she read in 2 weeks? Number 8 asks, one day 4 students were absent from a math class, and the other 2 students present scored an average of 82 on a test. The 4 absent students took the test the following day, and the class average rose to 84. What was the average of the 4 absent students' scores? So I'll give you 6 minutes. After 2 minutes, I'll start to solve. Okay, so number 7, if we start with the amount of time that we're given, we have 2 weeks. So 2 weeks we can write as a whole finite value is just 2 weeks over 1. If we wanted to write it as a fraction, because we're going to multiply by some conversion rates. So every week she's reading 4 hours per week. So it would be very tempting to take weeks and to convert it into the total number of hours in a week, but she's not spending all of that time reading. That's why it's really important to pay attention to the context of the question. So we know that 4 hours is not the same amount of time as 1 week, but in the context of this question, that represents the total amount of reading time in a week. And that's what we're asked about. How much can she read? How many pages can she read in 2 weeks? So if we take 2 weeks times the rate of 4 hours of reading per every 1 week, notice that weeks cancel with weeks, and our answer would be in terms of hours. But we don't want hours, we ultimately want pages. But the rate at which she reads is given in pages per minute, and right now we have hours. So I need to go from hours to minutes, so I'm going to multiply by 60 minutes over 1 hour. Now my answer would be in terms of minutes, but again, that's not what they asked me about. They want number of pages she can read. So I need to multiply one more time by her rate of reading, which is 4 pages over or per 1 minute. And notice that minutes will cancel with minutes, leaving us with an answer in terms of the unit's pages. And that's exactly what they asked me for. So if I just multiply all of those values together, 2 times 4 times 60 times 4 is going to give us a total of 1,920 pages. And that's answer selection A. For 8, this is really operating on the corollary of the average formula. So the average of any set of values is equal to the sum divided by the number of terms of those values. Notice that if average is equal to sum divided by n, I could multiply on both sides by n, and you get an equivalent equation that just reorganizes, shifts the variables around. So if I multiply by n on both sides, notice that would tell me that if I know the average and I know the number of terms, I can always find the sum. Another name for the sum is the total. So in the context of this problem, the total would be the total number of points each group of students scores. So if I know the number of students that make up a particular average and I know their average, I can multiply those numbers together and get the total number of points or total number of whatever items I'm talking about in that problem. So originally, when the 22 students took the test and got an overall average of 82, if I take 22 students times an average of 82 points per student, that'll give me a total of 1,804 points that those 22 students earned. I can't say how those total 1,804 points are distributed. Maybe some people got perfect 100%. Maybe a few people got 0%. Maybe everybody scored somewhere in between. Those are all possibilities, and there's no way of exactly knowing without having more information here. But you don't need any more information to answer the actual question that's asked. Because if we know that the total class average rose to 84 after the other 4 students took the exam or the test, then now we have a total of 26 students taking this test for a total average of 84 points. That means that a total number of points after including the new students, including the absent students, would be a total of 2,184 points. The difference between those two subtotals represents the total number of points that those 4 absent students scored. Again, we can't decide how those total the difference there, 2,184 minus 1,804 is going to be 380 points. So between the 4 of them, they all scored a total together of 380 points. And we can't tell definitely or for certain at all who scored what. We don't know how those total points are distributed among the 4 students. However, we can divide the total 380 points that they as a group together as 4 students scored and get their average. So 480 divided by 4 is 95. So the average of the 4 absent students would be 95%. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Otherwise, let's take a look at 9 and 10. So question number 9 asks, Molly can read 6 pages per minute. If she reads 3 hours per week, how many pages can she read in 3 weeks? Number 10 asks, one day 4 students were absent from a math class and the other 26 students present scored an average of 78 on a test. The 4 absent students took the test the following day and the class average rose to 80. What was the average of the 4 absent students' scores? I'll give you 6 minutes, and after 2 minutes I'll start to solve. Okay, so starting with number 9, we have a total amount of 3 weeks time. So if we write 3 weeks as a fraction, it's just 3 weeks over 1. And then we can multiply by the number of hours per week she plans on reading, which is 3 hours per week. So multiplying 3 weeks times 3 hours over 1 week will eliminate weeks with weeks. Now we need to go from hours to minutes. So if you multiply by 60 minutes over 1 hour, that'll cancel the hours out, leaving your answer in terms of minutes. Now we have the initial rate of 6 pages per minute. Notice how they gave you that rate. Now, depending on which value you started with, you could use the rate first. It doesn't really matter the order here. It's not right or wrong. But I just want to make the point that they really like to oftentimes present the information in a confusing order, but know that you're in control over what information you place within the problem or when you use it, and just don't be misled by a misordered piece of information. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So if we multiply by the 6 pages over 1 minute, we'll have 3 times 3 times 60 times 6, which will be 3,240 pages in that 3-week period. For number 10, when 26 students took the test, we had an average of 78, so they must have earned a total of 2,028 points. When the other 4 students are considered in the average, that increased the average to 80. So 30 students times an average of 80 gives a total of 2,400 points. So the difference between those two subtotals must represent the total number of points that the absent 4 students scored. 2,400 minus 2,028 is going to be 372. 372 divided by the 4 absent students would give us an average of 93 per student. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Otherwise, these are the last 2 problems for today. Let's look at 11 and 12. Number 11 asks, Molly can read 9 pages per minute. If she reads 2 hours per week, how many pages can she read in a month? Number 12 asks, one day 8 students were absent from a math class, and the other 12 students present had an average of 86 on a test. The 8 absent students took the test the following day, and the class average rose to 88. What was the average of the 8 absent students' scores? I'll give you 6 minutes, and then we'll review. Okay, so for number 11, if we have, the only difference now is that I asked for a total amount of pages in 1 month. So you should have been able to understand that there's 4 weeks in 1 month. So that adds one other step to the conversion factors. So 1 month is our starting value. We're going to convert that into weeks by multiplying by 4 weeks over 1 month. Month cancels with month. Now we have our answer in terms of week, or we have our time amount in terms of weeks. And we know that she reads 2 hours every 1 week, so multiplying by 2 hours over 1 week, then converting by multiplying by 60 minutes over 1 hour, and finally by her reading rate of 8 pages over 1 minute. So we need to get from months to weeks, from weeks to hours, from hours to minutes, and ultimately from minutes to pages. So multiplying 1 times 4 times 2 times 60 times 9 will give us a total of 4,320 pages in 1 month. For number 12, if the initial 12 students took a test and had an average of 86, then 12 times 86 means that they scored a total of 1,032 points. After the other 8 students took the test, if the whole class average rose to 88, then that means that 20 students times an average of 88 would give us a total of 1,760 points overall. So if the grand total minus the subtotal that excludes the 8 absent students is 1,760 minus 1,032, which is 728, 728 is the sum of the absent 8 students' scores. So to take the average, we would just divide the sum divided by the number of terms, which here is 8 absent students. 728 divided by 8 is going to give you an average of 91. If you have any questions at all on anything that we've done today, then please let me know. If you find these videos helpful, then please like and subscribe and share with your friends. And also I'm available, like I said before, for any recommendations or questions that you have on my social media accounts. But otherwise, Dr. Todd, do you want to say goodbye to everybody? Come on, everybody wants to see you say goodbye. Come on. Dr. Todd, you want to say goodbye? Come on, let's say goodbye, get a cookie. Come on, we had a good class. You gotta get a cookie. Say bye. Come on. You can say bye. Come on. Can you say bye? No? What about bye? Okay. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.